Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat basketball channel. My name is Amir, and I am joined today by my special guest and friend, Vonig. How are you doing today, Vonig?
Great, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. It's been a while since we've talked basketball. Vonig is a Houston Rockets diehard fan, and for today's topic, I wanted to talk a little bit about Summer League. Honestly, I've mentioned in my past videos, I've only watched one and a half of the Summer League games for the Miami Heat, and I'm not paying attention to any of the other games. So, um, wasn't focused on any of the other teams outside of the few Miami games that I watched. But there's one player in particular that came up yesterday in the headlines, and that was Cam Whitemore, who was the Summer League MVP. So the Houston Rockets played the Cavs, I believe, in the Summer League final yesterday. And Cam Whitmore, even though they lost, was the Summer League MVP. So my question for today's video is, did the Miami Heat miss out? Did we make a mistake on not drafting Cam Whitmore? What do we have? The 18th pick, I think, in the first round. We selected, obviously, Jaime Jaquez Jr. We did that for multiple reasons. Miami Heat, typically, we like to draft players that are older, that have been in the college for like 3 to 4 years. So Jaquez was a senior, and he's 22 years old, and he is a ready now player, right? He's not raw. He's not going to take a few years to develop. So that was the reason, I guess, we took Jaime, which I did not expect us to take that pick. So there was a few other players I expected us to pick, but they already got selected before. And so I was shocked that we didn't pick him based on the only fact that I knew that he was projected to be a top 4 pick. I don't watch college basketball, so I don't know much about him. But my question to Vonig, who's a Rockets fan, and the Rockets selected him, was it the 20th pick, Vonig, overall? 2 picks
Correct.
later.
Yes.
So just what are your thoughts? Do you think the Miami Heat missed out, and why?
I don't even think it's just the Miami Heat that missed out. I think a lot of teams missed out. He was projected. The Rockets were already eyeing him just outright at the number 4 pick, which they ended up taking Amin Thompson, which I'm super happy about. So with Cam sliding all the way to 20, we basically ended up getting 2 number 4 picks in the same draft. As he was sliding live during the draft, I couldn't believe it. I mean, on that back half, right where the Heat picked, there was the Lakers and the Warriors as well. And I thought, man, if any of these teams who are already NBA title contending teams add Cam Whitmore, like what a steal. So when he fell to us at 20 and even you guys passed him up, I was just in shock.
Why do you think he slipped? Like they mentioned, I know why the Heat didn't pick him now, right? Like following the podcasts that I listen to and just the publications in South Florida, but outside of like the injury, which he looked pretty damn healthy and athletic in the summer league, like it was known or whatever. The reason why most teams passed on him was because of apparent medicals.
Yep.
So just outside of that, like what were
Yeah.
the reasons why you think people skipped on him?
So there was definitely speculation about at least one team that wasn't fond of his medical. I think there was definitely some groupthink that was going on where, hey, like once a couple of teams passed up on him, then other teams, I think, started to maybe think like, hey, maybe this guy does have some red flags. And obviously these other teams passed on him. So we should probably pass on him too. And we're still kind of unsure. I also think about the fact that he was a top 5 pick. I think only, really your front end of the lottery did their, real homework on him as far as, you know, scouting and if they even met with him. And so any of those teams, like once he kind of fell out of the top 10, anybody from 10 to 19, minus the Rockets, since the Rockets had an earlier pick and had already like met with him. I think they just didn't have any real info on him. So that wasn't the player they're targeting, because they were targeting the players they thought were going to be within reach. So I think those were the things that kind of stood out. I also heard one thing about like that he didn't do the best interviews. Um, and to that, I just kind of read that, he's a little bit more of a shy guy. I know even during the Rockets press conference, I mean, I wasn't like overly wowed by, his answers and all that stuff, but I think he was 18 years old still. He just turned 19 last week. I mean, he's a kid. I've watched a lot of interviews and some stuff on even regarding his parents. Like, his parents are just awesome people. You could definitely tell that, he was raised right. And I think he's, like I said, I think he's an ultimate steal. I mean, I think he's going to be polished once he gets some playing time, and he definitely has some red flags as far as basketball, like as far as what he needs to improve upon. But huge upside, and just at 19 years old, or just a week into it, to win Summer League MVP is a pretty big testament to the fact that he was a steal in this draft.
Yeah. So, what are those things you think he needs to work on? So, I think from Miami Heat perspective, because obviously they do their scouting, and obviously when it comes to whether we draft a player or undrafted players, our player development scout team is pretty spectacular. I mean, look at Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero, right? I think Bam was number 13 and Tyler was 14, right? So like the last picks of the lottery, and we found an all-star player, an all-defensive player, and a potential all-star player in Tyler Hero. So we do pretty good when it comes to scouting, I think. But the red flags were maybe the medicals. I think it was like an ankle injury or something. And then of course I think the defensive side. So I think with Miami, we've always been defensive first, and when it comes to defensive ranking, we're always top 10. It seems like for the past 20 years or so, right? So we've always been better on defense than offense, outside of when we had the big three. So I think Miami didn't see him as a two-way player, and unless you're like a spectacular offensive player, then we need you to be a two-way player. And you could see players like Tyler Hero, who only started last year for the first time, right? Like we had him on the bench because he was a liability. Duncan Robinson was out of the rotation completely, even though he's one of the best 3-point shooters in the NBA, and he proved his worth in the finals last year, or even just in the playoffs in general. But he lost minutes because of his defensive liability. So, is he really that bad of a defensive player? Because I think that was like one of the biggest things. I don't know, because like I just watched highlights yesterday because I saw he was the MVP, and I'm salty in a sense because I'm like, we could have picked him. We talked about this. We texted about this right during the draft, and I saw him like most of his highlights were like safety Jimmy Butler esque type of plays where he's playing the passing lanes, intercepting the ball, and getting fast break dunks. So is he a bad defender? And like, what are those liabilities that you mentioned, right? That he needs to polish.
So I had heard the defense too prior to, but I can tell you that that was absolutely not the case during what he showed and displayed during the summer league games. And I think even in the semifinal, he actually set the summer league record for steals. He had 8 steals
Yep,
in one game, 8 steals. Unreal. The guy is super quick, reads the lanes really fast. Obviously, as soon as he gets the steal and there's a breakaway, his athleticism. I mean, his player comps during the draft were like Miles Bridges slash Caron Butler. Honestly, like watching him during summer league, I thought more of like a Jalen Brown. I mean, he's 6'7", 230. Yeah.
he's 6'7".
He's 6'7", just turned 19 years old. He's about 230, 240 pounds. So he's already got like an NBA body at 19 years old. Super athletic, has actually a really good shot. When he has time, and like some of the threes that he was hitting, I didn't know that was even really part of his game. But
I saw
yeah,
that
I
backside step shots. Yep.
yeah, so he's got some Jalen Brown to him, and so I think his ceiling's even higher than just saying that he could be a Miles Bridges. I think people just think of that because obviously he's got he could dunk it on anybody. Um, I would say the red flags that I saw that are not as concerning to me are just because it's just he's played 5 summer league games, and he's had one college year at Villanova. It's really just about getting the right coach with him, which I think Ime is going to be great. Obviously, I'm sure he's going to spend some time in the G League with the Vipers affiliate and get to play there. And I'm sure at some point in the season he's going to earn minutes in the Rockets rotation. Um, I see him being on the depth chart, probably right behind Tari Eason in the small forward position. Probably early in the season, I'm going to say that Jay Sean Tate's going to have that role, but I'd say as the season goes on, I think, and where our timeline is at with youth development, I think it's Tari Eason starting, and then I would put Cam right behind him at the 3 position off the bench. But my biggest, I'd say, criticism was just be like sometimes when he gets the ball, it just gets sticky with him. He he has opportunities like on in transition where he could definitely pass the ball up and kind of create for other people and open the the lanes up for scoring. And he holds onto the ball a little too long, or he holds onto it entirely. And like I said, I think that's just lack of experience and just getting in the flow of things. But I feel like his success is going to even come more so once he's just moving the ball and making the right play.
I think that's a symptom of summer league.
True. Like the first 2 games for the Rockets, obviously Jabari and Tari Eason both played. So Cam was
Yep.
and Ammon Thompson played the first game too before he got hurt. So he was a little bit more buried in the depth chart. Plus, I think he came in with a chip on his shoulder because hey, he did feel like he got slighted falling all the way to 20. So I think he was forcing it a little bit more. Once Jabari, Ammon, and Tari are out though, so from game 3 of summer league and on. I think he realized, hey, you know what? Like these guys aren't on the court. I am the number 1 option. So I think he rightfully so took took the ball into his own hands and actually was taking the shots that he should have been because now he's the number 1 option.
But yeah, what was his efficiency like in those games once he became more of the number one option? It's like what, game 3 to 6?
He obviously they lost the summer league final to the Cavs on Monday. He didn't have the best shooting game in that final. I think his true shooting percentage overall for entire summer league was 55%, which I think is pretty
That's huge.
respectable. Yeah, it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, so for over the scope of summer league, use that 55%.
How's his turnover ratio, assist to turnover ratio? I know he's not a guard technically, but he's a wing. But what was his assist to turnover ratio like?
I didn't see that number offhand, and I mean, I think his assists he was somewhere probably averaged. I think it was around 3. So
Not
probably
bad.
too great. And I would imagine just the fact that the ball, like when I'm saying the ball was kind of getting sticky with him, like I'm sure his turnovers are pretty decent too. So I'd imagine probably wasn't pretty.
That's summer league too. It's like I'm sure he averaged like 4 turnovers per game, right? Especially like in game 3 through 6 when he was the primary focal point. I'm assuming he had to. Summer league is sloppy. Like I
Yeah,
watched one Miami Heat or the second Miami Heat game. I think it was against the Suns where we lost by 3. There was 28 turnovers by the Miami Heat in that game. They had 12 in the first quarter. Like
yeah.
just super sloppy. So, what are your thoughts on just him winning overall MVP? What do you think that means? Does summer league mean anything? What does it mean to be like first
So
team summer league team slash MVP? Just like
I I
how does
I,
that translate
I
to you?
absolutely think it means something. I think it gives a little bit of validation. I don't think in the grand scheme of things does it mean like, oh, he's going to be the MVP of the NBA or he's going to be whatever. I think it at least shows that yeah, you know what, this guy is one of the most talented players out of the draft class, and reaffirms that there is no reason for him to fall to the 20th pick. They had posted basically, who your last I think 6 or 7 summer league MVPs were,
Yep.
which on that list, like if you go down it, there's definitely some players that are still too early in their career for us to figure out if they're going to be legitimate stars. But
Like who?
there's some names. So Lonzo Ball was summer league MVP his rookie year.
Yep.
Um, I mean, he was obviously having
He's
a
great.
lot of success.
Minus the
Uh,
injury.
Correct. Josh Hart was summer league MVP, I think in like 2018. He's a
Solid role player. Like
solid role
top
player. Yep.
top tier role player, right? For sure.
Um, the other ones, Cam. What's his name? Cam Thomas.
Reddish?
No, Cam
Reddish?
Thomas from
Oh, for the
the Nets.
Nets. The Nets, right?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously
He's
microwave
a scorer. Yeah, he's a
total
microwave.
scorer,
He's a microwave scorer. Yep.
microwave scorer.
Who
So
else do you got?
last year was what's his name? Keegan Murray from the Kings.
Oh, he's great.
So I mean, these are all good basketball players. So I think Cam, to be in that class and like I said, to show the upside that he's showing, and he's actually out of all of these players by age the youngest. A lot of those guys were 20, 21 years old. He, like I said, he just turned 19, and I think the only other one that was 19 in the names that I mentioned was Cam Thomas.
Interesting. So you think then, to answer the question, that the Miami Heat did miss out along with some other
Yeah,
teams?
you know why? It's not, I like Jaquez a lot. I loved watching him play at UCLA. He's that intangible guy. He's got a high motor. He's totally the Miami Heat type of player. You know what I mean? High IQ, high motor, makes the right plays all over the court. Great energy. It's kind of funny. It gives a little bit of those Haslam vibes, which are Haslam retiring now. Like, there's going to be a little bit more of a void with that type of guy. But Jaquez, the thing that's crazy is that he super jumped. Like, nobody projected him to go that high. I think most projections had him going like in the second round. So for me, I if Cam's falling like that, I would much rather take the gamble on Cam, especially since you guys are coming off basically an NBA Finals. Um, to add him to your roster, but I also see why you guys took Jaquez, and again, maybe the Miami Heat. I mean, I'm not going to ever question the Miami Heat's scouting and undrafted players that they bring on, because they always turn players into gold and get players paid, because all the teams that pass on these guys, they come to the Heat and then they play amazing and then they go get paid and play for another team.
Yeah, but they also usually are a lot shittier when they're outside the Miami Heat, though. So at least we get to like
Correct.
take advantage and squeeze as much juice
Don't
out of
don't
those players before they leave. You know what I mean? Like everybody who leaves is like usually objectively worse. So
don't talk. Don't forget about Wayne Ellington, the man with the golden arm.
I mean, I guarantee if I look at his stats, like he was probably hitting more threes at a higher clip for the Miami Heat than when he went to whatever 6 other teams he went to afterwards, right? I know. Did he go back to the Lakers? I don't remember.
Yeah, he did. He did. He
Yeah,
was on the Lakers. He was on the Pistons.
Wizards, maybe. I don't know. He's out of the league, obviously, right now. So he's out of the league. You know what I mean? Justice Winslow, not the same after he left. Josh Richardson, who we just actually signed, who's back home.
Tyler Tyler,
Literally
Tyler Johnson.
out of the league. James Johnson, not the same. Like Derek Jones Jr., Rodney Magruder. Like you could name a million Miami Heat players that signed somewhere else and they have not been as effective. Goran Dragic seems to have aged exponentially since he's left the Heat, right? With the Bulls and the Bucks and whoever else he's been on. I guarantee if he comes back to the Heat, he's going to probably play better than he did the last 3 years, right? Even at age 36 or however old he is now. But anyway, yeah, I think the main thing with Hawkeyes was just he fits the Jimmy Butler timeline of like Jimmy's 34. We made it to the finals last year as the 8th seed. Third most injured team. So during the regular season, him, Bam, Lowry, Hero, whoever else got hurt. And so we had the third most injuries, which kind of makes sense why the Heat were the 8th seed. We also blew a shit ton of games. We had the most clutch games in the NBA last year. I don't even remember how many it was. If I go back to my earlier YouTube videos, I can find out what that countdown was, but like it was like in the 40s, where clutch games are, if you guys don't know out there, games decided within the last 2 minutes by 5 points or less. And Miami basically just half the season, every single game, it felt like was a clutch game. So we lost a lot of those and we were the third most injured team. So I think if we were healthy, we probably would have won 20% more of those games and we probably would have been at least the 5th seed. So I don't think we were a true 8th seed. We weren't even a true 8th seed. We were the 7th seed who lost the playing game, right? So I think Jaime just fits a more ready now player versus like we're not thinking about the future right now with Jimmy, right? At age 34, and if we still keep Lowry, who's age 37, we need to win now. So
Yep.
I think we're thinking about just winning now and not worrying about the next 3-4 years because with the Miami Heat, we don't rebuild. We don't really worry about young talent. Like outside of Dwayne Wade, like what other player have we drafted and molded besides, I mean, Bam and Tyler Hero, right? I guess, but they're not superstars. So we figure shit out. We vulture, we trade, right? We get Shaq, we do it through free agency. Like we draft pretty well, but like we build these championship teams through free agency or trades. So I'm not that upset. I don't think summer league means anything. I guess you gave me some valid points that the former MVPs of summer league have proven to be at least successful role players, right? Or potential all stars minus injury. Um, so that's cool, I guess. But there's one player in summer league that I want to bring up that we both paid attention to was a former Fresno State player. You can see the jersey right there. That's Paul George, not Orlando Robinson, but Orlando Robinson. So sticking with summer league but switching gears, what are your thoughts on Orlando Robinson as another undrafted Miami Heat player that signed last year to a 10-way or 10-day contract? Then he signed a 2-way deal, so he played about 50 games last year, maybe less. Made some impact, I guess, as like the Miami Heat's backup big for a little bit. But yeah, he signed a standard contract, so he's going to be one of our 15 next year. So I'm happy, proud that we do have a Bulldog on the team. But just what are your thoughts on his development and how he performed in the summer league?
I obviously am very pro Fresno State. I actually got to watch several of his college games when he was still over here playing for the Dogs. So I'm really happy that he landed with the Heat. I think it's great for his development. Um, During summer league, obviously he took a huge step. Offensively, he's so talented. I always thought like he's got an NBA game. Um, my concern, obviously, just with the Heat is just finding him the minutes to develop and play. Obviously, with players like Bam, you guys are vested. I mean, he's an all-star. He's a defensive player of the year candidate. It's going to be hard to, supplant that. But if he gets rotational backup minutes, I know you guys were like carrying people like Dwayne Dedman for a while, that type of deal. Was it Cody Zeller? Do you guys have Cody Zeller, right?
Yep, you're at 7, your favorite Turk.
Yeah,
He was hurt last year, but
I think as long as he develops the defensive side, which he's tall enough and big enough. It's just I know that was his knock even when he was in college. Um, he can earn the minutes to stay on the court, but offensively, I mean, he's got a great touch, great game, great shot, and statistically, I mean, if you're comparing it, I think you could have really made an argument for Orlando Robinson to have been the MVP for summer league. I think the fact that the Rockets' record, they were undefeated, had and obviously played in the finals, so, and that obviously resulted in more games since they made it to the playoff rounds of summer league. Obviously gave Cam a bit of a statistical edge, but Orlando Robinson was like just right there. I mean, Orlando, they did a first team all summer league, and Orlando Robinson was on it, obviously.
second leading scorer, I think, right? 21 points per game. He had that 37, 11, 3 assists and 3 blocks game. Like he had one of the best games in the entire summer league.
All you can hope for is with players like that is when they go to summer league that they should dominate, and that's exactly what he did.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, he's definitely earned some time, I guess, in the rotation, but he's got to compete with Thomas Bryant. So we signed Thomas Bryant, who's more polished offensively. Probably not as good defensively. They're both not really good defensively, but Orlando's obviously younger. He's 23. Thomas Bryant's like 26. So, I mean, we went from having no size and length last year to having pretty decent size in our front court. I mean, Bam, we have Kevin Love, who we re-signed. We have Thomas Bryant now. We have, for now, Nikola Jovic, who I didn't even mention because he got hurt and didn't play. Jaquez didn't even play. I'm pretty damn sure Miami Heat would have played the Rockets in the finals.
Hmm.
If I mean, what do you think? Do you think if Nikola Jovic, who played really well in the I think Sacramento um, summer league games before Vegas, his first 2 games he averaged 22 points, 8 rebounds, a few assists. He has definitely shown signs of development. He's added 20 pounds of muscle. He could shoot threes. He's almost 7 feet. He could put the ball on the ground now. Is like doing good mid range. He didn't play outside of one game. He played one game, I think, or one and actually he played 1.5 games. He played the first game, the Heat won, and then the second game he played like 18 minutes or so. Then he didn't play the rest of the summer league in Vegas, and then Jaime Jaquez played 0 games. So I mean, those two along with Orlando Robinson, I think we could have had a chance to make the summer league final. But yeah, I mean, who knows if he's even going to be on the roster or even if Jaime is going to be on the roster. So out of all those players, I mean, it's good to see Orlando get some time because I don't think if we do trade for Dame Lillard, I don't think he's going to be a part of that trade. So it was good to see, to your point, that he had an opportunity to play and he performed well because he's NBA ready. He's already had some experience, unlike 70% of the players that probably played didn't play in the NBA at all last year, right? There's an exception with a few players. So it was good to see him dominating as he should have, right? So I don't know if it means a lot that he was first team summer league because I think Omer Yurtseven 2 years ago when we signed him was also dominating, and we signed him immediately to a um, two-way deal um, after two summer league games because he was averaging like 20 something points, 10 rebounds per game in the summer league, and he didn't really pan out either. So who knows? I'm pessimistic about the summer league, but obviously you validated based on past performances by some players that it does matter, right? If some players do perform well, it does correlate and translate. So before we end, um, last question for you. So you are a Houston Rockets fan. You guys are the future of the NBA. What are your thoughts on the Rockets season next year? Where do you think they'll end up? You think they're a play-in team at this point with all their additions and getting a steal like Cam Whitmore? How do you think they're going
Um, I think we should be on the cusp of it. I don't think we get it. Even with the additions that we made, I'm super excited. Everything offseason, huge wins getting Ime as our coach, huge win in the draft with getting Ammon and Cam, huge win with getting Van Fleet and Dylan Brooks. Even though the Dylan Brooks contract, I'm not crazy excited about. I am happy about like what he brings in terms of he was second team all defense last year, and that's one of the biggest knocks against us. We don't play any defense, so I like that he's going to bring that grit and that accountability to the young guys that haven't really gotten there yet defensively. I just looking at the West, I can't see five teams that the Rockets are better than to get into the play-in. There's a couple teams. I think we're going to be there with the Spurs. I think we'll be there with the Blazers, especially if they trade Dame. But like, I mean, the Minnesota Timberwolves, all those other guys, they're still in that 6 to 10 range, easy. The Pelicans and the Rockets aren't going to take that type of leap. What I expect from them this year is just to see growth. Jalen going into year 3. Jabari and Tari had monster game 1 and game 2s in summer league. So I want to see that, basically in the regular season this year. And then the fact that Van Fleet and Dylan Brooks and, a couple of the other veterans that we got like Jeff Green, hopefully round out and help our guys take that next step up. So hopefully target range, like let us get to 30 wins. I kind of want to have the same type of season the Orlando Magic had last year. The Orlando Magic with Paolo ended up winning about like 32 games. They didn't make the play-in or anything like that, but you could definitely tell that they were starting to gel with their young guys. And like I said, I'd like to see us add maybe anywhere from 8 to 10 wins on the season, at least.
what would you end the season last year at?
I think we won like 21 or 22 games, something like that.
That's sad. Well, I think you're completely wrong, and you don't know anything about basketball, even your own team. But I think you'll get ninth seed. I think you'll be in the plan. You added Fred Van Fleet. He's a capable scorer. He's a veteran. He's going to get you like 17, 18 points per game. He's going to get you like 6 assists. I think he's going to play well with Alprin. Is that how you say his name?
Sangoon, baby. Yes, sir.
I think he's going to activate him, perhaps, because I just don't know how well Jalen has activated Sengun. I don't know. Has he activated him really well, or do they play well off each other like a two-man game?
Sangoon's the activator. I mean, they had some success near the end of the season, but I think
Yeah,
him
it's a
and
mini Jovic. I get that, but like you got to have the guard set
yeah,
him up as
I,
well.
I think him with Van Fleet's going to be even better. I think Jalen's game's going to get better because he's going to get much more open shots and not have to dribble and be the hero with the shot clock expiring or forcing something because he got the ball at the last second.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. Like, I think Fred's going to help
Yeah.
Sengun's game, open him up a little bit more. He's going to prevent Jalen from pounding the ball and that hero ball, right? Like, he could set up the team. Brooks is going to help them defensively. He's pretty damn annoying. So
Hmm.
Jeff Green's good defensively as well, even though he's old, but like he's going to be a good veteran presence. I think those three players alone, plus your rooks, can elevate you to win 10 more games. I
Yep.
think Fred VanVleet can win you 3-4 games on his own. He's won the Raptors many games in the past 3 years, like with his 3-point shooting, right? Like he's had, even though he only averaged like 19 points per game, he's had plenty of games where he scored 26, 28, 30 points, right? Like to help he's ignitable too when it comes to like his 3-point shooting, right? He's a pretty good 3-point shooter. I think he's
Yep.
like in the high 30s, right? 38, 39% 3-point shooter. So there's going to be nights where he's going to be on fire, and throw in Brooks' defense, throw in Jeff Green's um, play off the floor and his just veteran presence, and then adding the rooks. I think you guys will be at least the ninth seed easily. I think you'll move up a couple spots based on that, especially if Dame leaves. I mean, I know the Blazers were like the 10th seed anyway, right? Did they make the play in last year? I don't remember. Or are they not even?
No, they
Oh, they
didn't make
weren't
it.
even in. It was Lakers and T Wolves, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think you guys will be good. And I think the Heat will be hopefully the one seed once we get this Dame trade through. Just anxiously waiting. So patiently but anxiously waiting. So just want to thank everybody again for tuning in tonight. I want to thank Vaughn for joining me today. It was really good chatting with you. It was fun. Haven't seen you in a while. So fun to talk hoops with you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'm almost at 200 subscribers. So thanks again for the continued support. Really appreciate it. And yeah, I'll be back with some more videos and some more updates as I hear them come in. So thanks again, guys. Have a good night, Bonnie.
All right.